All right. Welcome, everyone. It's very nice to have you all here. Let's go ahead and begin tonight by doing a half-hour meditation. So if you want to get into a comfortable position, that might be a helpful thing to do. Perhaps letting the spine straighten, maybe tilting the chin down just a bit, and pulling up for the crown of the head. Maybe wiggling a little from side to side until you find a supportive position. And we often begin by taking a few deep breaths and really letting go on the exhale. Fully relaxing, allowing the ease to fill the body and permeate the mind. And on your own time, you may let the deep breathing go. Return to whatever rhythm feels comfortable. And seeing if you can maintain that sense of relaxation. Just letting the body move, letting it flow, not really needing it to be a certain way. Feeling the peacefulness that comes when you relax, when you stop so much of the efforting. Letting go of any tension that may have accumulated during your day. That was then. You're here now. And that can be let go of. Just be present. Being open to the sensations of the body breathing, the rhythmic, soothing movement, the in breath and the out breath. In, out. you may notice that accompanying the breath, there's a subtle rocking back and forth, or perhaps side to side. This is the same kind of motion that a mother will use to soothe her child. Something quite calming about this rocking breath. Mind may open and start to notice sound, perhaps rain outside, or water in the pipes, refrigerator, whatever is present, simply effortlessly known. There's an ease to just receiving the sounds. There's nothing that needs to be done. And as this sense of relaxation and peace starts to build up, There's something that might be noticed when the mind is in this kind of state. There's a tendency for attention to dissolve. For mental structures to fade away. The mind becomes quieter, body becomes more relaxed, all on its own. It's a very natural process. It's the ego quieting down. When the mind feels safe, it doesn't have to work so hard to try and feel what it needs to feel. You can simply just be present. The mind very naturally lets go. It stops resisting so much. What's there is simply accepted. Just be. experience is simply phenomena arising and passing away, feelings of the body, sound, sight, thought. Nothing needs to be resisted. Nothing needs to be done other than to welcome them with kindness and tenderness. Everything can be okay. Everything can be welcome. Letting the mind relax even more deeply into this flow of phenomena, unresisted, letting experience be what it is. In this moment, you are safe and cared for. Whatever the mind is holding on to, whatever fear, this can be let go of. It's not necessary in this moment. Everything is okay. You let go into the flow. And sometimes when the mind is at peace, kindness will arise. This is simply our natural state. This kindness is present when there is a lack of afflictive emotion, when fear and agitation and anger are not present. Our true nature shines through. One aspect of that is kindness. There may be a tenderness towards the world. Things seem dear and precious. This is our natural state. This is how we see the world when we're not grasping, trying to make the world different. In this last minute or so, you may take a moment to reflect on the benefits of your practice today. Reflect on any wholesome states that have been cultivated, any peace or kindness. Reflect on the fact that this will change your experience going forward. You'll be slightly more inclined towards these states in the future. You might reflect that what you've cultivated will spread to those you meet. And so they will benefit from your practice as well. Thank you all. Can I get a quick sound check from the folks online? I realized that I did not put my mic on. Could you hear me? Okay, good. I wasn't sure if you got a silent meditation or not. Well, it's good to see you guys. It's good to see you. It's good to see you, Jesse and Charles. Quick announcement before we start. This week there is a Sangha hike. If anyone would like to come, please let me know and I will send you the details. So, as we practice, we start to notice changes in the mind. We might start to cultivate different qualities of mind, things like concentration or equanimity or kindness. And as we get further along the path, these changes can become quite marked. And so someone who's further along, that mind state might seem quite different to that person when they first started practicing. Might, in fact, feel like they developed some kind of superpower. In fact, for the kind of highly realized beings, there's talk in the suttas of some of the things that they were able to do. Things like being able to transmit insight with just the power of touch. Things like being able to possibly heal like bodily afflictions. And I think of these as the Buddhist superpowers. In fact, there's a list in I think Digha Nikaya 2, the Samanya Phala Sutta, of some of these kind of seemingly extraordinary superpowers. I will say that I have not cultivated any of those superpowers on that list. But in fact, there is one superpower that I seem to have cultivated. And this superpower that I have is the ability to make the life of anyone I come into contact with better. And lest you think this is something special about me, I assure you it's not. This is something that you all have as well. This is something you all can do. And I know this because this ability to make someone's life better is dependent only on the ability to act with a kind intention. To be able to meet the world from a place of kindness and love rather than a place of self-centeredness. This is enough. This is enough to change someone's life. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to solve all their problems, but you can make their life better. I framed it this way for a reason. The idea that intention is a superpower. because we seem to just like gloss over this completely. This is like really something quite amazing. We can do something to make someone's life better. Um, People spend their entire lives trying to make their lives better, and we can just help them out. We can do so in a way that doesn't take anything from us. It doesn't take anything away from us. It makes our life better too. We can just do this. This this superpower seems like the right way to put this. Um, that's what I want to talk about tonight. Um, Not the other superpowers. So this is going to be a continuation of last week's talk. So I'll recap a little for some of the folks who are not here. Last week I talked about the discrepancy or the seeming discrepancy between our felt sense of living a life of someone who has choice, who has the ability to act with kind intention or an unkind intention. This is in contrast to what we see from the suttas or what we hear from the suttas and what we can directly examine on our own, which is the fact that everything about life, including the motion of this body and mind, is subject to causes and conditions alone. And so I explain these two things as simply two different viewpoints of the same, two ways of seeing the same thing that's happening. And I gave the analogy of like a rubber duck on a river, floating down a river. From the point of view of someone on the riverbank, it's really easy to see that the course of the rubber duck is just it's determined only by how the water moves it around. But from the point of view of the rubber duck, who is bobbing this way and that, who's kind of taking ownership of this the body that it's in, it might seem otherwise. It might seem that it's swimming down the river, and there might be a great deal of upset when it feels like it's not doing a good enough job at kind of maneuvering through life. So that's what I talked about last week. This week, I want to kind of continue on with that and talk more about kind of why one would like to use kind intention, or why one would like to show up in the world that way. The short answer to that is that this kind intention is the solution to all of our psychological suffering and all of everyone's psychological suffering. I was speaking a bit about our true nature in the meditation, and the true nature of our being, something that's intrinsic to us, is a mind that's completely at peace and a heart that's fully open and unfettered and full of love. And this is something that's inherent to all of us. And we've all had an experience of this, whether or not what I said kind of resonates with you in this moment. We've all had an experience of this, at least in our early childhood. This is a default state of a young human being before the ego starts to come into play. But at some point when we were young, we came to this false belief that this very lovely state, this complete peace, and this open heart was in jeopardy. And we thought that we had to do something to try and maintain it, or to keep that there. We started grasping at the world and trying to change it and trying to fix things and trying to make things better. And the great irony of that motion is that motion, that grasping, that trying to control the world, is what obscures our true nature, this completely lovely state of peace and love. And so there's this very unfortunate effect that the further away that our true nature seems, the more obscured that it is, the more that hurts, and the more we try and grasp to make that better. So it's this very unfortunate feedback loop. And we're all caught in that loop to some extent until we get out of it. And this is what we spend our life trying to do. Like many folks, I will say that the default way that it seems for many people in this world is to try and solve that through experiences, through trying to get things like physical objects to make their life better, to have certain pleasant experiences. And that never works. That's simply more grasping, and that keeps that true nature obscured. The way to get out is to let go, but of course it's harder the more we cling. And so where intention comes into play is that if someone has access to those feelings, the feelings of love and peace, regardless of whether it's something that's internal to them or something that someone else shares with them, that's how they're able to let go. And so to somebody who's stuck in this loop, and somebody else comes along and gives them peace and love, then they can let go to whatever extent they can. And this is how you can make someone's life better. Someone who is trapped in suffering, you give them this peace and this love, and you show them the way out. So going back to the kind of rubber duck analogy that I was using last week, from the point of view of somebody on the bank, the rubber duck is just floating down the river, and it's going to go where it's going to go. If it goes to the calm and lovely and peaceful portion of the river, wonderful. And if it goes to the rapids where the duck gets thrown around, then that's going to be an unfortunate life for that person. But from the point of view of somebody on the bank, it's just like wherever the water takes that duck is where it's going to go. But what if we add something to this? What if you reach your hand down into the water and just kind of scoot it over a little bit, just make a little wave, and the little rubber duck moves like a little bit towards the peaceful side of the river. This is what you're doing with intention. From the point of view of someone who has intention and can act, it feels like they can act kindly or not kindly. This is what you're doing. You're putting your hand into the water and you're moving that little rubber duck one way or the other based on your intention. So when you act with this kind intention, it's transmitted out into the world. It's this ripple that pushes not only any other being you're kind of engaged with, but also you as well. It moves you into a better path. And so this is why you do it. This is why you act. That's why you act like this. It's important. It changes things from the point of view of a separate self. It changes it changes the outcome of things. From the point of view of the person on the bank, what you do is already kind of a factor of how the water is pushing you around. But from the point of view of a person, you're changing the world. You're putting good energy into the world and you're making things better. And so if you feel like you have a choice, which is most of us most of the time, then make sure you act with kindness. And when you get to the point where where it feels like this body and this mind are not moving around with choice or with will, then the only thing that can happen is this thing moves with kind intention. And just let that flow. And this intention is always transmitting. Intention is behind almost everything that the body and the mind do. Thoughts and movements and actions, all those have intention behind them. And so I think of it kind of like an electromagnetic field. The neurons are always kind of firing in your brain, and you're always giving out like a small electromagnetic field. You're always giving off this field of intention to whether you're radiating kind intention or unkind intention. I've never met the Dalai Lama, but I know a handful of people who have, and he is universally described as putting out this field of kindness. Or sometimes it's a field of peace. And people describe it as this palpable thing that they can feel when they're in his presence. Their tension just kind of melts away, and their suffering just kind of goes away. And I don't think there's anything mystical about that. It's just that he's clearly he's very advanced in his practice and puts out lots of good intention. But this is something that we can do too. We can put out this intention too. And we can just move around the world this way, putting out this good intention, helping people on their path, helping people suffer less. And when I think about that, like over the course of a lifetime, like a small interaction might not seem much, but when you think about the net effect of someone someone like the Dalai Lama acting in the world over his lifetime, even if you take away all the um, kind of other things that are special about him, his political situation and that sort of thing. Just think about what it must be like to meet like hundreds of thousands or perhaps millions of people in his lifetime and just like make their lives better. Think about how much good that does for the world. This is available to us too. And it's like thinking about superpowers, like this seems so much better to me than anything people talk about. Like, Superman can fly, which sounds very fun to me. I would love that. But this is completely better. It's not even in the same league. Uh, yeah. I think I want to make one more point about this. Um, I had a conversation with someone a month ago or something like that. I don't even really remember the conversation, but somehow we got on the idea of leaving a legacy after you die, which is not an especially Buddhist thing to think about, but um, it I connected it to this concept we're talking about here, this idea that your actions are kind of always rippling out into the world, and it occurred to me that this is our legacy. The effect that we have on the world, this is what will last. Many people are concerned about being famous or being accumulating wealth or anything like that. But those things will all fade. How many kings have there been that are just like completely lost to time? People who have ruled over entire nations that we don't even know their names. We may not even know they existed. They're just like that sort of legacy is just gone. Like I think of the Mayan and Aztec ruins, which is these empires that span continents, and we're not even that like pretty recent to the present day, but there's almost none of it left. It's just there's like a few temples, and most of it is kind of crumbled into ruins, and soon enough that will fade too. But what we do that doesn't go, that just keeps moving on forward, and like the effect of your kindness touches one person, then another, then another, then another, and doesn't stop. I think it's really hard for us to see how important this is. We just completely gloss over this like very big thing that we can do. I think maybe it's because it's not something that's easily quantifiable. It's like we're very much in the mindset of not just like putting prices on things, but putting numbers on things. And like, how do you put a number on what like perfect peace? Like, what is that worth to you? Like, how many dollars, right? Um, so I think it just like maybe it just doesn't fit into our way of seeing the world, and we just ignore it. That's why I like the superpower framing. I think it puts that into a proper context. Mm. So this is what matters. Just being kind. Not that it's the only thing. You should definitely like try and make sure the effects of your intention are good and positive, but this is what matters, to be kind. I'm going to close with a lovely poem. This is by Philip Larkin. It's called An Arundel Tomb. And so the backstory to this is that, at least from what I read online, is that Philip, the poet, was like maybe a little bit of a misanthrope, I guess. And but he was visiting a cathedral that I can't remember the name of, somewhere in England, and he saw a monument to the Earl of Arundel, which is where the poem gets its name, the An Arundel Tomb. And he saw something in this monument that really struck him. So the Earl was, I guess, this um, like big important man. He had on a suit of armor, and I'm sure it was like very imposing. Um, But like he noticed that just kind of like this very like subtle detail. Like the Earl's hand was not in his armored gauntlet, like on the sculpture. It was not in the gauntlet. It was out of the gauntlet and it was clutching his wife's hand. And that little detail just really touched him and inspired this poem. So I'll read the poem. And mostly I'm just reading it for the last line, but it's a nice poem. Side by side, their faces blurred. The Earl and Countess lie in stone, their proper habits vaguely shown as jointed armor, stiffened pleat, and that faint hint of the absurd, the little dogs under their feet. Such plainness of the pre-Baroque hardly involves the eye until it meets his left-hand gauntlet, still clasped empty in the other. And one sees, with a sharp, tender shock, his hand withdrawn, holding her hand. They would not think to lie so long. Such faithfulness in effigy was just a detail friends would see. The sculptor's sweet commission grace, thrown off in helping to prolong the Latin names around the base. They would not guess how early in their supine stationary voyage, the air would change to soundless damage, turn the old tenantry away. How soon succeeding eyes begin to look, not read. Rigidly, they persisted, linked through lengths and breadths of time. Snow fell undated, light. Each summer thronged the glass. A bright litter of bird calls strewed the same, bone-riddled ground. And up the paths, the endless altered people came, washing at their identity. Now, helpless in the hollow of an unarmorial age, a trough of smoke and slow suspended skeins above their scrap of history, only an attitude remains. Time has transfigured them into untruth. The stone fidelity they hardly meant has come to be. Their final blazon, and to prove our almost instinct almost true, what will survive of us is love. What will survive of us is love. Thank you all for coming.